Welcome in, Buckeye backers. Holy hell, was that a game? And as Vegas said, I just realized I don't like close games. We haven't had to deal with them. Well, we did this time. Let's get to that intro and get this thing started, baby. Here we go.
Gives up a lot of chunk plays in the air. Buckeyes have four, looking for a big touchdown end zone. Jeremiah Smith, his second tonight. And they get him again. If you take a downfield shot, loops it back across the body, and Kleiman making the catch.
They're going to need to hold up against these receivers.
Making the Junkins again. And there is Smith roaming free. Breaks the tackle. Ohio State strikes quickly from 45 yards.
Will Howard, screen to Henderson. You can make up for it now, Ball. Finds his block. Finds that sprint. Trevion Henderson. Shot out of a cannon. Touchdown. Ohio State with 13 seconds left in the first half.
That's how you make up for it.
We talked about him setting up.
For yours. Pressure comes. Sawyer knocked it out and picks it up. Jack Sawyer headed down the sidelines. Ohio State scoop and score and dagger from 82 yards.
A dagger from 82 yards. Turns out it was 83, but holy hell, man. What did you think? Immediate thoughts on this game, man.
I'll start by saying I was watching the game with my wife last night, and on that fourth down play, I said to her, I said, Sawyer better fucking make a play, because I was so tired of not making plays against Michigan and all this stuff. And boy, did he shut me up. And boy, did he, in the biggest moment when you needed him the most, did he not only execute, but he went straight legendary.
Legendary. 83
That's all you can
yards.
say about Sawyer.
83 yards through the heart of Texas, man. Everyone knew the game was over at that point. And him just running down the sidelines, there's a great shot. I'll have to post it sometime and give the photographer credit. But there's just a great shot of the team, everyone jumping, Ryan Day running down the field, everyone else trying to run with him. He said he was gassed. But did you hear that legendary comment, what he said? If they give us an inch, we will defend it. Holy hell. An interview, and to say something like that after that 83-yard run. 83 yards through the heart of Texas. Man, they were deflated. I got to give Texas credit, though, man. What a great game plan. What a great execution. I mean, they could have won this game. Very easily, they could have won this game.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people are going back and forth on penalties. I mean, the penalties were kind of inconsistent, and there's penalties every play. You could throw a flag every play if you're a referee. They just can't do that. That would be an awful product. So you got to let them play a little bit. It's just sometimes we're unfortunate to, at least this game. We'll talk about that later. Let's just stay on the D. Let's stay what the D did. Man, that defense, it was awesome. 3 sacks in the first 3 possessions. They were playing possessed, dude. Possessed. What was your thought on the defense, man? Defensive line, just animals, all of them.
I mean, my first thought, and I think I texted that to you in the third quarter, is, wow, this Texas offensive line is legit. And they were. And that was a really damn good offensive line they went against. And you're going to give up a 4 or 5 yard run here and there. But I also said to you that goal line stands have defined this season. If we go back to Penn State, right?
Yep.
First and goal at the 3 straight runs, and then a bad throw, you stop them on a goal line. This one, first and goal at the 1.5 after that penalty, and then stop them, and then Caleb Downs making that great first effort, and then the rest of the D cleaning up, forcing them back to the 8, then the third down incomplete, and then we saw with the 4. So, I mean, for a defense to be able to stop a team when they get inside the 3 yard line, first and goal, that is extremely difficult to do ever. And this Ohio State team was doing it against Penn State in Texas.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Yeah, it was awesome. Hey, let's see what the locker room thinks about some of this. Congratulations on the win, OH. We got the IO baby from a Michigan fan. That's right.
Thank you,
Hey,
Mike. Good morning.
he's a Big Ten dude. Mike Germanese is a Big Ten dude, and hey, I got to give him credit. At this point last year, I was rooting for Michigan. I hate to say it, but I was. Once they played Washington, I was like, wait, Washington's going to be in the Big Ten next year. I'm rooting for Washington. I have an out because I've always been, a Big Ten guy. I'm going to root for the Big Ten no matter what.
I was rooting for Washington. I just want that on the record.
You had to root for Washington.
I do.
The man formerly Seattle Matt, which
That's true.
lives in Seattle. He's on the West Coast. He's just often in Vegas because he's a betting man.
I am.
And you're not allowed to do that there. Let's get back to this D.
Absolutely. I mean, what were there moments or times where you felt that maybe Texas had the advantage, their offense versus the defense, or what were your thoughts around kind of advantages they were finding? Texas's offense.
I think you said it best. They got the mismatches out of the backfield. Yeah. They got those running backs out in space, but that was their entire offense. It was, with the exception of a play or two downfield, everything was back out of the backfield or screen. And they were just playing to a quick defense with a good defensive line. You got to get the ball out quick, and everyone's rushing upfield to get to the quarterback, which they were. The 3 first possessions that they had, Ohio State got a sack on each of those first 3 possessions. I mean, our line is animals, and he's not getting credit. Tyleik Williams.
He should be. He should be.
Credit they deserve because, boy, those guys are coming off the ball quick, and they're getting pressure. And a lot of times they're just standing people up in order for Cody Simon to make plays, for the linebackers to make plays. The one that was really concerning to me was obviously the touchdown. The 2 touchdowns that they had were the exact same play, just back out of the backfield, trying to create that mismatch on the wheel route. It worked. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, something like that.
I think you stuck that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, come on, man. Don't let them beat you on the same play twice. That's kind of.
It wasn't just twice. I mean, if you go back,
yes,
I can start looking at the receptions from running backs, but it was clear. A lot of things were clear on that. The first thing I want to point out is if you listen to our show from Wednesday, you made a comment about Sark not having the roster that he had at Alabama and how dynamic he looked as the OC at Alabama, and it's maybe not translated to Texas. That was the first full game I've watched of Texas, and I got to say, Sark's offense is brilliant. He is a brilliant offensive mind. He did not have the horses. Isaiah Bond, wow. I was incredibly disappointed in what I saw from him. I think he
was playing hurt after a little while. He did go out quick. But he didn't stretch the field. You're right.
No, it wasn't even just that. It was the jumping. He reminded me of Austin Hooper for Browns fans that want to cringe. Like, he would just jump for no reason, catch the ball and fall. Like, because he had a crucial drop there. I think it was in the late first, early second, where it was a third down play, and he jumped for absolutely no reason and dropped the ball. And it was an offense that looked like their only option was running back and tight end. It was like watching Penn State all over again. And you had made the comment that maybe Ewers was hurt, and that could very well be the case because he did look like a hurt quarterback.
I mean, that oblique injury, I don't think he's totally over it. He looked a lot better on the deep balls today. He didn't throw a lot of them, but when he
I was going to say, I don't remember very many.
Well, they were more mid-range, I guess, not real deep. There was one that was deep. It was kind of an overthrow instead of an underthrow.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Well, I kept thinking they were incredibly smart in attacking that soft cover 2. And one of those areas with that soft cover 2 is that wide receiver running that 12-ish yard out, because you got the safety dropping back, you've got the flat the flat guy covering the zone. So there is a pocket there that's available. They attacked it several times, but they couldn't execute on it. And in the one time it was wide open, and Ewers missed this guy completely. So it just looked like something was off with Ewers, and the wide receivers just didn't look as good. But I don't think it's a Sark problem.
Maybe fire Ryan Day. You got to change it back to
never.
Don't fire Ryan Day. Never fire Ryan Day. That's better. But he says, "Yo, what's up, fellas? Super pumped over the win last night. I think we all are. It was a close game. I think Ohio State could have put them out. They could have done the belt to ass approach in the first quarter had they not settled for all these penalties. That was the killer. I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. We still got to give Ohio State credit.
I mean, we talked about it on Wednesday. The great equalizer in this game was going to be penalties because we have not seen Ohio State behind the chains. And you were seeing that, and it was getting to be 2nd and 20, and then you were seeing a 5-yard pass to Kazmarek or Scott or somebody, and it was 3rd and 15, and you are not going to convert 3rd and 15 against an elite defense like Texas.
Touche.
I like that. I like that. Maybe fire Ryan Dame. When he finishes the job, you change the name. I agree. We are not done yet.
Not done yet. The climb to the top of the mountain has started, but it's not finished. You're almost there. Almost there. I think we got to get to a commercial real quick. Let's get spicy in here with some Danos, and then we'll be right back to talk that offense because there's a lot to talk about on the offense, baby.
Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some.
Dano Seasoning, food's favorite flavor.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm Joe Burrito, your favorite burrito. Whoa, whoa.
Joe, we all know you're the best.
What?
You can always do better.
What you got?
Try the new Dano's Hot Chipotle.
Hey. Ooh, that's spicy. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum, get you some.
Yum, yum, get you some. Well, you know who got him some? Jack Sawyer. He took that ball back. Word is Quinn Ewers stole one of his balls while he was a roommate of Jack Sawyer. Left Columbus with Jack Sawyer's ball. Well, you know what? He's got that ball back now, baby. All the way 83 yards to the end zone, man. Man, oh, man, that was awesome to watch. We got to talk about this offense, man. It sputtered out. Oh, they came down. They looked great. It looked like it was going to be the BTL or BTA, but belt to ass. It looked like it was going to be. But you know what? They didn't. Penalties plagued this offense. The second possession, they scored on their first drive. Everything was looking good. 15-yarder. And totally uncharacterized. Travion Henderson, out of character. Never done anything like that. Dude is just nothing but productive and quiet and just minds his business. Never seen him do anything like that. And to me, it looked like the guy that was on top of him yelled something, did something, and then he got lifted up, and then went after the wrong guy, actually.
You just can't do it, man. No matter what he said about Travion's family or him or his girlfriend, whatever he said, you walk away. You just walk away.
Gotta walk away.
It's a penalty. There's nothing I can say. I don't know what he said to him. Probably something terrible. You got to walk away.
That's exactly it. They have to run the ball better. Stop getting dumbass penalties. Man, those penalties killed us. Listen to this. Second possession, 15-yarder. Takes us back. No points. Third possession, holding on Mbuka. Makes us like 3rd and 8, I think. Fourth possession, they started the Michigan play calling to start out. This was just a disaster of possession. Run right up the middle. Second down, they did a sweep, holding. It was a weak call, but called correctly. Then there was a false start. It was like 3rd and 20. They got 10 yards. Or no, they got 17 of those yards. And awful. Then the fifth possession, it was just the Longhorns defense took over. They got a pass deflection and a sack. You just can't give good teams like that, good teams like Texas, a break. And we gave them break after break after break after break. And most of it was legit. It was on us, man. We just didn't get some of those penalties on defense that they got called for them, against our offense. which, that's the breaks. That's the game. That's the way it goes. Just, man, you can't do that. Some of those were, false starts, 15-yard penalties. Damn. And I know what Texas fans are going to say. There was holding left and right. There was holding on the offensive line left and right. Well, guess what? You guys held Sawyer every single freaking play, besides the one where he got a sack fumble, scoop and score for 83 yards.
I mean, there was
It
a
goes both ways.
There was a missed PI on Igmanosin too. I mean, that's why I'm not getting into this back and forth. Because
and there was a missed PI on Tate over the middle on the third down where they grabbed his hips. Same
I know.
play,
I saw that
against Ohio State.
They had that
and the
announcers.
The announcers, I don't get it. The announcers were like, "Oh, that was a good no call," but then when Ohio State does it, they're like, "Yeah, you have to call."
It was identical. It was identical where it was a hook on tape, which I'm fine. Listen, it's subtle. So, if you're not going to call that on tape, if you don't call it the other way, I'm actually fine with that. But the one in the end zone that made it actually 1st and goal at the 1.5 in the fourth quarter, it looked like the same hook. And that's where I'm like, listen, either you let the DB have a little bit of a hook or you don't at all. But there was a little bit of lack of consistency. But listen, Ohio State committed penalties.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to sit here and be like, all the 9 penalties for 75 yards is bogus. It wasn't bogus. I think Texas came with a lot of fury. They have a great roster. They have a lot of speed. I think Ohio State maybe was taken back a little bit by it. And kudos to that Texas defensive line. My goodness, we talked about it again on Wednesday. How you disrupt the best way to disrupt an offense is penetration from the middle, specifically your D tackles. And my goodness, they got that. And they were throwing off Howard.
Well, did you go back? I went back this morning and looked at the eye in the sky, and they were dropping everyone. And I think it was there was a couple people that tweeted about it that were watching the eye in the sky too during the broadcast. But it was 15, 20 yards the safeties were, and then their DBs were another at least 7 to 10 yards back. They were giving us everything in the middle, and our offense took it. That's what they were doing. Their defense was specifically designed to say, hey, you guys, we're going to give you the middle of the field. We're going to give you those short routes. We're going to see if you make mistakes. And guess what they did? They made those mistakes. Not terribly, but those penalties, they made those mistakes and made it hard.
They did. That's why Knowles' defense is so effective in college football, because you're going to tell college football teams put together 10, 12, 14 play drives. That is really tough to do. It's tough to do at the NFL, but especially in college, because you're either going to get a penalty, you're either going to turn the ball over. It's tough to consistently sustain that. And I thought Texas' defensive plan was absolutely brilliant, but it also helps to drop 7 back every time. When you have an elite defensive line like Texas does that can get pressure, get penetration, Collins was in the backfield constantly. So that also helps. If you're getting 0 pressure on the quarterback and the quarterback has 5 seconds to throw, dropping 7 back is not effective. A good quarterback will find the gaps.
Well, that's what they were doing. And that's why Smith didn't get any receptions. He was open a lot. But they were just doing curl routes, and the first guy that was open that he saw threw it to. Will Howard was just like, there wasn't any reading. There wasn't a lot of time for reading. It was obvious that Will Howard was taught, hey, find a guy, throw it. Find a guy, throw it. Find a guy, throw it. They're giving you everything. Just find a guy, throw it. And that's what they're doing, right over the middle. Find a guy, throw it. And it was 10, somewhere between 8 and 15 yards almost every time. And you would see our designed routes were curl routes. Almost always there was at least one guy in the middle of the field in a curl route. I took a picture of one play. It was three curl routes, 10 to 15-yard curl routes. Every single one of them was open, including Smith. It was just he didn't get that far. He found one, threw it. The guy right in front of him was getting it every time. Because it was there.
This is a perfect example of a complete team. And we talked about this again on Wednesday. If you're going to double and triple team Smith, what does that mean? Tate, Ibuka, Scott. That's what you do. And when you look at those three guys, 17 catches for those three players. And that's how you win as a team.
Mm-hmm.
When they shut down your number one and say, we're going to take Jeremiah Smith away.
They didn't shut him down. They just shut down the long ball.
17.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Go back and watch that eye in the sky. He was open. It was just everyone else was open too. On short to mid-range routes, everyone was open. They were dropping back quick. And so they did the right thing. It was just the penalties that killed drives. That was it. They would have scored every possession if it weren't for the penalties. I mean, if you take 4 possessions away in penalties when you're behind the chains, and that plays right into their defensive playbook because they're just playing back. Anything longer than 10 yards, they're completely keeping that away.
And
I agree. Yeah, running would do it too. But you can't run when you have those penalties when you're behind the chains.
You also can't run against, you're playing some really good defensive lines, right? Texas has a really, really good defensive line. If you think you're just going to line up with RO line against Texas's D line and say, oh, we're just going to run for 4 or 5 yards a carry. No, you're not. You're just not. So
they started out the game like that.
Everybody does. And guess what? Texas was ripping off 4, 5, 6 yard runs too. I mean, Tyreek Williams and Ty Hamilton and all had great games too, but Texas was ripping off 5, 6 yard runs too. So it's just not as easy as it sounds. I mean, I know we're going to get into this next week. I think maybe it's a little bit easier than it sounds, but I'm going to tell you right now, Notre Dame's going to take this and they're going to come out with something very similar.
Sure. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
Well, I think the key difference is Texas has a lot more talent than Notre Dame, but we'll get into that next week. But I think you talked about it on Wednesday, and you wanted the focal point of our show to be this counter, or because we're not creative, the counter. What are your thoughts on the lack of counter in this game?
I mean, I think I saw it once, maybe twice. I got to go back and look again.
Twice, maybe.
But one of them was a fake, and it was kind of a half-ass fake, to be honest with you. So it didn't really draw anyone. I would have loved to see it more. Like, run each of those plays that were successful once, see what happens. And they didn't put. You brought this up, during the game. They didn't put Smith in motion to try to confuse the defense at all. They were playing a kind of vanilla game plan and just take what the defense gives you.
It was,
which I guess is right, but you got to work some of your script in there. You have to work some of that in there. Some of your successful plays, you have to do it.
Well, that was the one thing that I think has been overlooked against Tennessee and Oregon. They weren't just lining Jeremiah Smith up to the right and saying, okay, go run routes. That was not happening. He was in motion, or they were putting other guys in motion to create mismatches for Smith. They were doing all this play action, partial rollouts. All of this was designed to confuse the defense, create mismatches, and ultimately get Smith the ball. I saw none of that last night. I saw nothing that was trying to isolate Smith or create favorable mismatches for him. It looked like we're going to run out there with a basic offense and play. And honestly, my high point of anxiety was I was getting PTSD flashbacks to the Michigan game, where I wasn't seeing the creativity, the counter, the motion, the mismatches. It was more of a, we're just going to line up, run a 5-yard curl, and hopefully complete it. It was scary.
I mean, I don't fault them for that. That's what the defense was giving you. You take it. What I do fault them for is not working some of their plays in, like no motions, no trying to get Smith one-on-one in coverage. They threw it to him once deep and then abandoned it immediately. You got to get that guy the ball. You got to find ways, manufacture ways to get touches, and you got to have those plays scripted and worked on in practice, and know you're going to do basically any situation the defense throws at you. How are we going to get on the ball? All right, and try it. Yes, I know you have receivers everywhere else. Yes, I know you have a Emeka Egbuka that could take over the game, Carnell Tate that could take over the game, Ennis could even take over the game. But that didn't happen. It didn't happen. So, and a lot of that was because of penalties. Really, I think that threw them off. When you're behind the chains, that changes your whole outlook of what you're going to do on the game. And yes, maybe fire Ryan Day. Arizona State did run on this Texas defense, but you got to think of the emotions of the game too.
Yeah.
Texas was not planning on Arizona State being in this game, right? They were not planning on Arizona State being there until the end. And then they just fed on it and fed on it and fed on it, played that underdog role and started running it down the throat. And that's really all Arizona State had. They don't have receivers like we have that need to get the ball because that's our mismatch. Those receivers that we have, 5-star receivers, all world receivers, always open receivers. That's our mismatch, and we got to get them the ball. That's our offense. And then that should open up the run. And that's what we learned the last 2 games. Our passing offense opens up our running offense. Let the passing offense do the work, get creative there, and then pound it down the throat.
In Arizona State, obviously they have a pretty, I'm going to call him a crafty running back in Scattaboo. Not really sure what he's going to do at the NFL level, but he's scrappy. So you got to go
do great.
Time will tell.
Anyway,
time will tell. But they also have a rushing quarterback, and I want to go back to the locker room. Thank you for bringing it up. That's nice. I don't want to see Will Howard run the ball at all, and that's the first time I think I've ever said that about Ohio State quarterback because I love running quarterbacks at any level, but especially in college. That was the second time in 3 games where he fell down with nobody within 2 yards of him.
Dude, I honestly think he fell down because he was not expecting to be that wide open. He was expecting to take on some hits. He had his shoulders forward, and then he popped back up, and he was like, it just happens. Sometimes it happens. But dude,
No.
And I want him to run.
I'm not letting you let him off the hook for this. It happened in Tennessee where there was a 2nd and 12 play. He ran up the middle. He was wide open, fell on his own, and made it 3rd and 1. He fell on his own. Last night, I don't know if he's scoring a touchdown. I do.
Yes, he was. He was definitely scoring a touchdown.
No, I think he was at the 20 or so, and there was a DB coming. He would have gotten at least 10 more yards, possibly a touchdown, depending on.
I don't care. Run the damn ball. Run him. I disagree with you. Vehemently disagree with you. Let him run the ball.
Stay on your feet, man.
I don't think it's the game plan. Yeah. But yes, it's his fault for falling. But yeah, I always blamed him falling on our shit turf. But dude reminds me of Daniel Jones.
I think it's a great comp, especially if you've watched him with the Giants before he got benched and cut. He definitely, that is a great comparison. Maybe fire Ryan Day. It's tough saying your name, man, because we love Ryan Day, man, now. And it's just, he has galvanized this team, but I want to give you credit for the good comments.
I got to give him credit for keeping it till the end too.
That's true.
And you changed it, right? It was fire Ryan Day after the Michigan game, correct?
And it was maybe after Tennessee. He stayed consistent. I respect it because he's right. We've accomplished nothing. Ohio State has accomplished nothing. So one more game.
Mr. Bucknuts is back. Go Buckeyes. OH, man. OH. So we've been talking about how shitty this offense was, how much we would have changed. But then, right after Texas goes and gets its momentum, and you saw it in the intro, holy hell. I want to go back to what your exact words were, because you came in and you gave it, what did you say? You said something along the lines is that's what a championship team does. That exactly is what a championship team does. That's a play championship teams make. And it was, man.
I was saying a lot of stuff to you.
When it was, game was on the line, there's only 30 seconds left. You go ahead and run that screen.
Yeah.
And everyone knows that's coming. Like Saban himself said it at halftime. He was like, there's a screen, there's a draw coming. Why did you put that much pressure on the quarterback? But I think that's their identity. Drop everyone, get pressure on the quarterback. And that was what was keeping them in the game. I just think that situation in particular, you go ahead and let people drop back, let them beat you down the field. Because they just played right into that screen, right into it. Perfect setup. Henderson perfectly was patient, found that hole, and gone.
That's the key. This wasn't like when Will Howard threw the ball there was no Texas people in the secondary whatsoever. There was one, you had 3 offensive linemen who were blocking fantastic. And 2, I'll tell you right now, 99% of running backs don't break that because that required a significant amount of patience to let that hole develop. And a lot of running backs are trying to hit that, and they wouldn't have timed it right, and that would have been a 13-yard gain in most cases.
You saw those linemen chucking it over. It was like slow motion for me still in my brain. It's like, they're coming. They're coming.
There were, but
they're coming. And Henderson got it, and he waited, kind of shimmied back and forth a little bit. Those guys got there, and boom, exploded out of a cannon was what Pat McAfee said. And he did. Boom. Dude,
but it was the patience. It was Trayvion's patience that allowed the blocks to develop that made that play possible. And that's simply what I thought, because just watching the play, I'm like, great, you're going to pick up 10, 15 yards. Great. Spike it. You got 2 timeouts. I'm thinking, how do you get into field goal range? And the difference between great teams and championship teams is that level of execution on a play like that. And you took the win completely out of their sails.
This is good. Sometimes I feel like I can coach because how aren't you in a prevent defense? I don't know, man. I think they were pretty much in a prevent defense the entire game. At least the first half.
I'd have to see. I'd have to see it again. I know they were getting pressure on Howard, and he threw the ball over the lineman to get it there. I don't know if they brought 4 or 5. Again, it was perfectly blocked by the 3 linemen. And it wasn't like there were no Texas players in the secondary. They were. The blocking was fantastic. And it was just a perfect hole with elite patience. And he executed.
Wow. And even at the end, Sarkisian, when he's in his press conference, he was like, there were 2 big plays. And you could tell he wanted to be like, if we eliminate those 2 big plays, we're in the game. He didn't go there. Thank goodness, because I hate when coaches do that. But because you can't eliminate those plays. Like it's not something you can eliminate. And he didn't do it, so I'll give him credit for that. But he was proud of his team. Texas played well. I mean, their game plan was phenomenal. It was the best you could do against this team. As hot as this team was, his game plan was perfect. And everything just kind of fell the right way for them to be in this game. Because I do think Ohio State could have put it away early. They didn't. And this is a game of emotions, a game of momentum. And that's what we saw, man. Texas got that momentum. They got that confidence. Hey, this isn't someone that's going to just come in here and stomp us. We're in this. We're in it till the end. And they knew it. I mean, something like that was probably said at halftime.
Well, I think with the way Ohio State has been playing, and they talked about this on the commentary, and I agree. If I'm Coach Sark, and I say, let's get this tied to the 4th quarter and give us a fighting chance, I'm thrilled if I'm Coach Sark. And it was tied in the 4th quarter. And so I think Texas was in a position that they wanted to be in. But I'll also say this, Ohio State has never trailed in the playoffs. So I think until you show that you can be beating Ohio State, they're still going to have that mental edge on teams.
Mr. Bucknut, save that thought. We'll talk about Notre Dame a little bit later on, but I like that. And from Josh from the Texas side, that play calling was infuriating. Well, I think we thought it was too. What exact play call?
I think he's talking about the screen. I think he's talking about the screen because just for context, Josh is a Texas fan. He's kind of helping us on the Texas side. And I would agree, if the roles were reversed, I would have probably put my remote through the TV. So I can definitely relate to that. But I don't think it was, again, it wasn't one of these like blatantly obvious, you should have had everything blended perfectly and you missed. It really
He said Henderson because he doesn't know how to spell Travion.
Yeah, neither do I. So it's okay. I'm going to give Josh credit.
I'm just giving you a hard time, Josh.
I'm no good at spelling. But I would be infuriated if the shoe was on the other foot. But I do think when you go back and watch it, the blocking and the patience, it was a unique combination. So you do have to tip your cap to some really good plays by the individual players.
I got to get to this. Last year, Trey last year doesn't break that. He used to be impatient. You're 100% correct. He was impatient this year too. But since the playoffs, dude's been patient. He's been waiting for his holes and exploding through them. I'm really impressed with him being able to do that, just having that. Because sometimes when you have that impatient mindset, you can't get past that ever. And that's going to really, really take him further at the next level. He's going to up his game because, he's really just that third down out of the backfield back right now, right? In the NFL. I mean, projecting to the NFL. But if he can get that patience down, he's going to get a few more looks. And
I think it's I honestly, I think what's holding him back is injury history. That's probably where that grade is coming in. I don't know if I would classify him as an every down back in the NFL. I think again that's probably where he's dropping, but he's a day 2 pick, and that's not bad for running backs anymore.
I think he tries to dance too much when he needs to just go straight ahead. Sometimes he tries to make a move. We're talking about Junkins now. Sometimes it's just you got to get those yards right now. And in the open field, he tries to dance a little bit when he just needs to plow ahead sometimes. And he missed a huge cutback hole on that sweep that they did. And we'll just go get into this. The second half, when Howard, it was 3rd and 2, and they didn't do that quarterback sneak. This is where you wanted him to run. And they do a sweep instead. So you go backwards instead of going forwards. And then Junkins kept it going out. There's a huge cutback lane. Missed that. Damn, I was so pissed. That is not a play call you want to make. It was synonymous with the end of the game with Texas. Why they run a sweep to the short side of the field? I've been saying this all season. These offensive coordinators, what are they thinking? You do not throw the ball backwards, especially against this Ohio State defense, this fast of a defense. You pound that up the middle, you run a pass. They were getting pass interference left and right. Why you throw the ball backwards when you're trying to get in a goal line situation in the red zone makes 0 sense to me. 0 sense. It's football 101. And I said that to my dad last night. He was like, well, maybe it's 102. I was like, yeah, okay.
I think what's aggravating me on these 3rd and 1s or 4th and 1s and 4th and shorts, especially in middle of the field, 40-yard line-ish, why are you not QB sneaking? You got a quarterback that is more than capable of picking
6'4",
up
235.
Just get a yard. This is where teams are getting so creative. And if you were watching on that 4th down play, they weren't pinching. The D tackles weren't pinching in. You're going to get a half a yard there. And my theory on quarterback sneaks is these refs can't see that ball. As long as they see some type of forward movement or trajectory, you're pretty much going to pick up the first down. They just don't want to see you stop. If they see the quarterback stop, then they won't give it to you. But it's just ridiculous. And even at the goal line, yeah, I don't mind Junkins on a 1-yard run. That's fine. He's your power back. At the same point, why aren't you QB sneaking it at the 1-yard line?
And
stop.
They try to outsmart them. I think you're right. They go
back
football.
to basics. It's
easy.
The basics.
Stuff like that is easy. You do your basics. You take your advantages when you got them. Yes, if it was like who was a small, tiny little court. If you had Drew Brees, maybe you're not doing that. But they probably still would with Drew Brees.
I understand not doing it if, again, you have either a smaller quarterback or you're just deathly afraid of some type of injury, which I will get.
Some of those we'll get back to.
Yeah,
we're in the locker room because there's no good ones.
I don't see that with Will Howard and I think we're glossing over. And I don't know if it was late in the first or early in the second. The one play that really scared me about Howard, and this happens to everybody, I get it, he gets to have an error every now and then, was he missed a horrible read when he should have handed off to Junkins, and he kept the ball himself. And I'm thinking in my head, oh, crap, is this guy trying to play hero ball today? Because if he would have handed off to Junkins when it was 7-0, there was a hole you and I could have ran through. It was that big. And he would have been probably, I think there was a safety coming in, so I don't want to say he would have been gone, but he may have been. And it was just a horrible miss. And I was really worried at that point in time that Howard was trying to win the game. And when he's trying to do that, that's when they lose, because you've got to get the ball to your playmakers. So I'm trying to balance all this. Do I want Howard running? Do I not want him running? Do I like that read option? Should he give more than keep? It's a very convoluted thing.
Yep, that was a terrible read. Kevin Adams. I think that's the first time we've had Kevin Adams in here. Thanks for joining us, my man. In the locker room. It was terrible read. And you, like you said, though, you're going to have some of those. It's just you want to capitalize on those when that opportunity is there. That's one you have to see as a quarterback. If you're going to be running the read, that zone read, then you have to be able to make that play, make that call.
And that's what we need from Will Howard. We need that true field general. I don't need you. You got to make the 6-yard bomb every play. What I need from Howard is every play, make the right read. And if the right read's a 3-yard out, it's a 3-yard out. That's fine. But he looked like he was missing a few there. And I'll give a lot of credit to Texas's defense. I think they were really confusing Howard, but at the same point, there were just some missed opportunities on the field.
We'll get back to that for a second, but let's get back to Kevin. Kevin says, "Hey fellas,
right.
I'm new here. Go Bucks."
Thank you, Kevin.
Welcome, Kevin. We need some more love from the Buckeyes on YouTube. That's for damn sure. For damn sure. So keep coming. Sometimes we get overrun by those Michigan fans coming in talking crap. Surprisingly enough, the last 2 games, they haven't been showing up. They're getting quiet, Buckeyes. Those Michigan fans are getting quiet.
Why is that, Steve?
Because they're sitting on their couch at home watching the Buckeyes win game after game after game. And you know what? They're trying to buy some players right now. They're buying players. Before they come in, they're buying them. You didn't hear about Jeremiah Smith being bought like Desmond Howard said, but their quarterback sure the hell was coming in next year. $10 million. He was going somewhere else till he got that money. LSU, right?
Mm-hmm. He was LSU. Yep.
Yeah. So I just got in a tangent, but I got to get this back in here for Kevin. IO, baby.
You, Kevin. Welcome to the show.
All right. Where was that? We had a good one in here. Howard's trying to be Lamar Jackson. But hey, listen, we're going to make fun of him for a couple plays, but you got to give the dude credit. He was taking what the defense gave him. There was a couple forced plays. That one to G. Scott over the middle. Wow. I rewatched that this morning. That he should have never thrown that, man. It was into triple coverage when he got the ball. G. Scott got it. And oh my goodness, we're lucky that wasn't an interception.
Well, there's another one to Ibuka. I believe it was down towards, it was a probably 30-yard pass, and it was a kind of a seam to an out route. And it looked like Ibuka actually made an incredible play. It was an incomplete pass.
Oh, the one where he went all
yeah, you had the safety coming in, and you kind of had a DB on his hip, and there was an opening, but you had that safety flooding down, and it almost looked like if Ibuka didn't cut his route off when he did, that was probably going to be a pick by the safety. So,
absolutely,
yeah, and with G. Scott and the same, I think you said the same thing with Quinshawn. I want to tell those two guys, run north and south. If I see G. Scott and Quinshawn run east to west anymore, I probably am going to put the remote through the TV. You're not finesse players. Just go get that extra 2 yards, live to fight another down. But they're both dancing and moving around. And I know Scott got away with it on that play in the third quarter where he probably would have made it 3rd and 2, and then or 3rd and probably 4, and then he danced around and favorably made it 3rd and 2. But you're not going to do that every play. He's got to put his head down and just get the yards he can get.
Well, we got to get to another commercial. Let's get to this real quick. We'll be right back talking some more offense and a little bit about what's going to happen against Notre Dame, baby, in the national title in Atlanta. But first, since it's cold outside everywhere in the United States,
Icy Breeze is the world's first portable air conditioner and cooler. A premium ice cooler that doubles as an eco-friendly portable air conditioner. This is not a swamp cooler, just blowing air across ice. Over 60 parts and components allow Icy Breeze to achieve what no other product in the world can do. The secret behind the Icy Breeze is an innovative design that circulates chilled ice water through a heat exchanger in the lid, replacing the Freon used in most ACs. Fresh air is drawn from hidden vents in the top of the cooler, pulled across the exchanger, and chilled down to 35 degrees cooler than the outside air. A 3-speed fan control delivers Icy Breeze's dry, cold air up to 25 miles per hour, just like a car AC. And a stay-put flex hose directs the breeze in any direction. Wherever you need it, Icy Breeze helps you beat the heat.
Hey, Steve, we can't hear you for some
Welcome
reason.
back in. Sorry about that. Mike was muted. Brad, thank you. Massive win. Congrats, Beeve. Sometimes I'm shortened from Buckeye Steve to the Beeve, and that was with our previous show. We don't go there that much anymore. Typically Buckeye Steve, but man, holy hell. It was a massive win. Buckeyes are on the road to Atlanta. I hope I'm there. I hope I'm there for that game. That would be awesome. We
Gotta
are
represent.
so ready for it. This is, and we got to get back to this, talking about the quarterback. I love, though, that we have been very spoiled from having a great quarterback play. I'm going to give Howard credit, man. I don't think we can take away. Yeah, we can be nitpicky on some plays, but dude had an awesome game. Did you see his hand?
Yeah.
Golf ball size, and he got a face mask right to his hand. I hope it's not broke. Dude played through it, though.
Probably not. I'm actually shocked.
I mean, you could have a dislocated knuckle, something.
Yeah, I'm shocked he didn't put a glove. You know, one of those offensive
what I
lineman
thought.
gloves that were a little bit thicker padding.
I thought at
don't know.
halftime they would do the thick padding and cut off the fingertips. That's just what I was imagining, but nothing. Dude's a beast. He's tough.
It's funny. Yeah,
you're right. It wasn't his throwing hand. It was his left hand. But still, I mean, that's tough. You have a big goose egg. I mean, it was literally the size of a goose egg.
Yeah, it was huge. It was blatantly obvious on the TV. And it was funny when I saw him on stage, I kind of thought he's on stage because of what happened at the Rose Bowl, right? They're giving him, his attaboy there. And then I realized that they were naming defensive and offensive player of the game. And when he was announced at first, I'm kind of like, really? But then you really look at the stats, and the stats were very impressive. I guess I never felt comfortable in this game. And it's not because we weren't out to big leads. It was the defense was incredibly tough from Texas. They were dinking and dunking down the field. I never felt like we were in command or control of that game. And I was a little bit worried about Will Howard, especially coming out in the third quarter and forcing that ball and throwing that pick. But when you step back and you look at his stats in the game, yeah, it was pretty impressive overall.
Well, I think we should go ahead and bring that in here. Give me just a second. Let me find that. We have the team stats, and then
I'm looking at him.
Individual.
He was 24-33 for 289 yards, 8.8 average, touchdown and a pick, and a QBR of 90. Very, very solid. Very solid. But did you ever feel like Will Howard was in control of that game?
I did. And because he was taking what the defense gave him. He wasn't trying to force stuff down the field. He wasn't trying to make plays that weren't there. He was getting the ball where the defense gave him. And that's exactly what you want them to do. And he did that all well. Looked like there was a hand growing out of his hand, as Adams would say. Kevin, he played an awesome game. I think he played well. You got to give the dude credit. Yeah, there was a couple of he plays. He fell when he should have ran it to the house. He's faster than everyone realizes. He had a 70-yard run against Texas last time he played them.
I'm going to shorten this to MFRD just because I can't talk about firing Ryan Day anytime soon. But MFRD is talking about it. It felt good, and I think that's what he's saying. It felt like good enough. Yeah, MFRD.
I can agree with that.
No, I completely agree with that take. It felt good enough. And I'm not going to sit here.
You got to take into account what's happening that was outside of his control. Those penalties, putting them behind the chains, made it harder on Will Howard than anyone else. The offensive line was protecting, but not very well. They were getting pressures, not so many sacks, but pressures. So it was a tough day for him. Anytime it's 3rd and 20, 3rd and 16, 3rd and 8. I think those were the exact yardages on 3 of the first 4 possessions. He's behind the chains, man. You got to give the dude credit. He kept us in it. And the defense, my goodness, we haven't talked about them enough. We got to get back to the defense. The defense won this game.
They did, but I think the same knocks that I have on Howard, and again, I don't know the full story around Ewers, but there was no deep threat in that game whatsoever, and there was nothing special. And I thought Ewers was basically looking to be check down Charlie the entire game, and
He didn't have time to do anything but be checked down, Charlie.
oh no,
We were getting after him, dude.
I
We were
will
getting
argue.
after him. 3 sacks in the first 3 possessions. Come on, dude. You got to give us credit.
And then at first 3 sacks in the first 3 possessions, they ended the game with 4, and we all know what the 4th sack was. So if you're talking first 3 possessions to 2 minutes in the 4th quarter, tell me what happened everything in between. He had time. They weren't hitting him. They weren't hitting anything. And honestly, why the running backs were so wide open was he had time. The defense was playing a soft cover 2. They were all dropping back. And then the running back was leaking out and wide open and picking up yards. So to the contrary, he was having a ton of time. He was not pushing the ball down the field.
He wasn't pushing the ball down the field. I'll give you that, but he didn't have a lot of time. That's why they were running screens. That's why they were running backs out of the backfield, because it's a quick pass. Besides that, let's move on. I agree with some of this. It's Texas, man. Tough team. And our offense wasn't playing well, getting behind the sticks. So that, again, makes your defense on the field constantly, longer drives. So these penalties killed us. Kevin, again, perfect comment. The penalties killed our drives, but the way to fight, they fought hard, and it was a tough Texas team, man. Someone said it earlier. Was this like the national championship game? I think
Yes.
it was.
I
think it was. Yeah,
I know
it was
save
Josh, of course. He said the Sawyer Ewers ending is like a damn movie. It was like a damn movie. Congrats to the Buckeyes. It's really Ohio versus the world. Last night felt like the Natty. It did.
It
did feel like
absolutely took me back to 2022, Ohio State, Georgia, where I think we could all agree that watching that game felt like a national championship because nobody was scared of TCU. And then Georgia clearly proved why nobody was scared of TCU. But that Georgia-Ohio State game was the de facto national championship game. And that's what last night felt like. I'll tell you right now, if Texas wins that game last night, I bet they're 7-point favorites going against Notre Dame, and they'll crush them. They would have crushed them too. And
I think the opening line was 9.5, wasn't it?
it is 9.5. I haven't looked this morning because, we start to show 6 a.m. out here. But this is why I think, again, what hasn't been talked about much and is being overlooked, the knock against Ohio State. You don't do well against SEC teams. We're 2-0 in the playoffs against SEC teams. Knock against Ryan Day, kind of questionable against top 10 opponents. Ryan Day is 5-1 this year against top 10 teams. And his only loss was 1 point on a true road game. So you have that at play. You by far, hands down, had a brutal side of the bracket where you had to play Tennessee, Oregon, and Texas, which are just 2 of the 3 best teams in college football. You look at Notre Dame's path. It was cupcakes. It was just cupcakes. So not only has Ohio State done this, but they've done it by literally beating the best. And I think people can make the argument your easiest game in the playoff is the one coming up.
Notre Dame. I don't know if I'd go that far. I mean, just the way I maybe that's comparable to Tennessee. I don't know.
I think Tennessee's a decent team. I mean, I don't like people saying that they were ass. That's not true. That was they ran into a buzzsaw. Same with Oregon. That's not a fair comp, in my opinion. I think Tennessee has a lot of talent. They recruit top 20 year in and year out. So they have the roster and the players to do it. I think they had a young quarterback, and that probably hit him a little bit. But, if we're going to get into Notre Dame and break them down at some point, ain't nobody going to make a case to me that this is some juggernaut powerhouse team.
We're not, and they're one-dimensional. Like, we're not going to be playing
Very
back. We're not going to
one-dimensional.
play a soft coverage and too deep the way both Texas and Ohio State played last night. We're going to be bringing the wood. They have the running quarterback, which makes things a little different. But like Mr. Bucknut said, 27-10 is what he feels, and I think that's an accurate score, at least in my perception of what we're going to do. I haven't done a deep dive into Notre Dame yet, but they don't have anyone as far as receivers that's going to stretch the field. They're going to run the ball. They have a great running back in Love. Dude said he wasn't going to hurdle anyone, still did. And he did amazing at it coming down on that leg. He had a bad knee. He's got a little bit more time to heal from that because it didn't look like he was too bad, at least against Penn State.
But
they got a good defense.
You called me on Friday. You called me Friday morning, and you asked me early on what was my initial thoughts of the Notre Dame Penn State game. And my comment to you was that looked like I was watching a football game from the 1980s.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You can't win football games consistently playing football from the 1980s. When Penn State has 0 receptions to wide receivers and you're solely relying on your running back and tight end. And it was funny, as I was watching that Texas game last night, I kept thinking to myself, this is exactly the knock that I had on Penn State, was their whole offense was tight end and running back. And that's what Texas was last night. And I know why it is at Penn State, because they don't have the wide receivers to really stretch and push the field. Texas does, though. So that's where maybe some stories will come out here. I'm not sure about injuries or what the case was there, but Texas's offense looked like Penn State's offense last night.
Certainly did. Well, they're a little bit more dynamic than that. I got to give them
I think they are. No, I'm saying it looked like it last night. I think Texas has a much more dynamic offense than Penn State. Why I was so surprised about was, why did Texas look like Penn State? And I don't know that answer.
Let's dig into this more a little bit, how this was just a storybook ending for Sawyer. Wow. I gotta go back and look at Josh's comment, because it was on fire. It was that Sawyer's Ewers ending. Sawyer and Ewers, roommates for his 1 year there, comes, takes that money bag, goes back to Texas. It was like a damn movie. It's really Ohio versus the world. It felt like the Natty last night. Yeah, that play will live in infamy forever in Buckeye lore. 83 yards. I think they called it 82 on the broadcast, but corrected it to 83. Wow. I mean, he came off that line, and you knew he was getting there. Ewers said he felt him. If you watch that post-game conference, he was like, I felt him. I stepped over. I didn't think he'd have time to get there, but he did. He was like, he's just a great player. Man, oh man.
It's tough. Obviously, Ewers was rolling to his left, being a right-handed quarterback. That's naturally always going to be tough for a quarterback.
And man, the emotion on Ewers, it just sucks, man. It just sucks.
I mean, it was a storybook ending too, because most times that ball it could go 45 different ways. That ball perfectly bounced on the ground and bounced up in his arms. That happens 1 out of every 100 fumbles, that it just falls right in your lap like that while you're standing.
Correct.
It was storybook, and it took me back to Ezekiel Elliott's run.
Oh yeah,
that run against Alabama, you were watching that and you're like, this is the dagger. This is going to be the difference. And the same thing I was thinking as I saw Sawyer running down the field. I'm like, this is Ezekiel Elliott all over again.
Yep.
Obviously different context, but that's how it felt. And I think in a game where we all agree that felt like the de facto national championship, kind of the same with Alabama. Even though Oregon had a good team that year, Alabama was the 1 seed. Everyone thought that they were going to win that first playoff, group of 4 or 4-team playoff.
Spy Riley, load the box. Let's get back to Notre Dame. How we're going to win this game. This defense is going to win the game for us. They better not let Riley lose. I mean, he could throw the ball occasionally, and they do, but their offense is run. And this defense is built to stop that easily. They are a little bit bigger. They have a big offensive line, a nasty offensive line. I think that they had 1 or 2 injuries on that offensive line too.
They are. And Notre Dame, for all that's worth, they send a lot of linemen to the NFL. They do. They recruit offensive linemen extremely well. They have a great offensive line. They are really good at running the ball. But this is a true case of, to Mr. Bucknut's point, load the box, because I am not scared whatsoever about Faison or any of their wide receivers. They do not have the talent at the skill positions to threaten me. I will go one-on-one with them all day long. I'll go just kind of center field safety over the top. I'm not worried about that. And I will stuff the box. What I think Notre Dame's going to come out with is they're going to try to come out with 3-4 wide receivers, try to spread it out, create mismatches to run. I'd say, okay, I'll give you that. I'll play a soft zone.
Right.
And I'll give you that.
All right, rest of this show is just going to be straight from the locker room, and then we're going to call it a day, man. Notre Dame is ass. They remind me of Penn State. I'm daring
I completely
Riley
agree.
Leonard to throw the ball. Yes, you have to. Absolutely. Jeremiah Love said he wanted us. Be careful what you ask for. I didn't get that yet.
He did. No. He said Ohio State is the better team, and we want Ohio State because we want to beat the best. That's what he said.
And did you see Marcus Freeman before the game? They asked him to pick the game, and he's like, I've learned to not say anything. Like, this is something you don't touch. Just let it go.
That's what you expect from
him. He's a
Ohio
Buckeye grad, man. We got to give it to Marcus Freeman. He did what he's supposed to do. He's got Notre Dame in the championship game, something that Brian Kelly left Notre Dame for, said you couldn't recruit there. Well, guess what? Marcus Freeman is not totally. Yeah. I mean, we can pump the brakes a little, but he hasn't been there long enough. They said that about
I think Marcus Freeman in 3 years is gone. I think he's going to go somewhere else, because Notre Dame, it is. They have high academic standards. It's a stepping stone team. It's not a place that you stay at for 30 years anymore. It's no longer Lou Holtz. And again, Notre Dame's path, let's just pump the brakes on it, right? And I know everyone says they play Georgia. That is a name recognition only win. That team is not the same Georgia teams you've seen the last 5-6 years. So
Correct.
That is not that great of a win this year. Penn State, I'm sorry. James Franklin is always just going to be good enough. He's never going to be great. In Indiana, It was fun seeing you. That is not a tough path. Notre Dame and Ohio State had to flip seeds. Notre Dame's not getting out of the second round, maybe not getting out of the first round. So I don't believe what Notre Dame is doing is special. I think they look very pedestrian. They are truly one-dimensional on offense. And I don't know what they're going to do defensively. They do not have the athletes to go toe-to-toe. You're probably going to see a very similar game plan that Texas had, is really deep, too deep safety, heavy.
Yeah, they're going to have to.
Yeah, well, you have the great game film from Texas to say, okay, how are we going to truly exploit this? But I think what Notre Dame wants is they're going to want ball control. They're going to want to slow the game down. They're going to give you that 4 to 7 yard catch every play, and they're going to try to do that. So you've got to get really creative on how you're going to create those mismatches.
The Notre Dame O-line struggled with Penn State. We should be able to get after Riley. I agree. We've gotten after everyone else. We've got to be able to get after Riley. Their game plan is going to have to change. They're going to have to run a lot of play action, I think. And I guess they could get the ball out like Texas did a lot to the running backs. I mean, that's something that they're definitely going to have to utilize. Almost scary how confident I am beating Notre Dame.
No, I feel the same way, but I will say
OSU is a bad matchup. Yeah, the matchup problem is bad. Penn State couldn't stretch the field against them. Ohio State can. We can get them in space. We got the athletes to do it. This is a really, really, really bad. If you put the two teams together on paper, really bad matchup for Notre Dame. I agree with you, Mr. Bucknuts. Absolutely correct. And
it is, but with Riley Leonard, he is a really good running quarterback. He can run the ball, and this is where pressure comes in different waves from a defensive line. You have to be controlled pressure with a running quarterback. You start getting Sawyer and Tuimoyau coming wide 9, coming around. Tackles, create these natural creases. A running quarterback's going to exploit that. And he is really good at running the ball. So you have to be extremely controlled, something that they have done the last 3 weeks that we hadn't seen a ton, but this is what NFL level lines do, is passes defended. They're getting their arms up. They're deflecting balls. You see this in the NFL week in, week out. You're seeing this Ohio State line do that. I don't actually look at this game and say you're going to get a lot of sacks against Notre Dame. I want a lot of containment, a lot of controlled pressure, a lot of arms up. Just don't give them any running room.
Absolutely.
Sark all day long.
All day long.
The exact 11
Sark for sure. That's easy. But I believe the correct question would be, who would you rather be, Brian Kelly or Marcus Freeman? And I'd rather be Marcus Freeman right now.
Oh, his arrow's pointing up for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of Brian Kelly anymore. I think
his arrow's pointing down.
Oh, it has to be. I mean, let's be fair. His only true success occurred with Cincinnati. And he used
he was the all-time winningest coach in Notre Dame history. He just never could get over that hump. So he won the games he was supposed to. He was a lot like James Franklin, to be honest with you.
I think that is a great comparison.
And that's the way that's what LSU was before he got there, was the Penn State of the SEC. Except for they had that national title run in 2019. That's different.
Here's the thing, and I actually went back and looked at this, looking since the year 2000, totaling up national championships. LSU has the same number of national championships as Ohio State since 2000. In fact, no team has more than 2 national championships since 2000 than Alabama. Alabama's got 6. Everybody else is at 2 or less. So another thing for Ohio State, not only do you win the first ever 12-team playoff, do something nobody's ever done before, but since 2000, since this century, you'd be the second most national championship winner with 3.
Kelly still made a natty. It got demolished against Alabama. LSU wasn't Penn State of the SEC. Definitely wasn't. Yeah, with those national title runs.
They have 2.
They are now.
They have 2. They have, was it, 2007 and 2019. I agree.
Cody Simon or Sonny needs to spy the entire game. Yeah, someone does. I think it's going to be a little bit more. You're going to see more of the downs back in that midfield rover spot, we call it. Not so much a safety, not so much a middle linebacker. I think you'll see more of that this game.
And
this in particular, I got to bring this up because when you were talking about JTT coming off that edge and Sawyer coming off the other edge, my mind immediately went to, thank goodness he got up. Thank goodness he walked off the field. And thank goodness he got back in and made some plays, man. Because it looked devastating. Everyone here in this locker room saw it, right? They saw him get that ankle bent. And, I hear my mom screaming from the other room. Me and my dad are watching it in one room. My mom's in the other. She's like, oh, it looked bad.
It did.
It looked like a high ankle sprain. You're out for 6 weeks. It definitely didn't look broken or anything, so I wasn't worried about that. But it definitely, man, he taped it up. What a beast.
He was a wrecking ball in the first quarter. I think they were definitely conscientious of Sawyer and everyone, and JTT took advantage of that.
I could tell it wasn't broken. I could tell immediately it wasn't broken. But that high ankle sprain or like a syndesmosis joint, when you rupture those, wow, it's not fun. And I know a lot about them because I work in the medical field on my day job, so I definitely know about ankle sprains, and I've had them myself. But definitely a high ankle sprain. If you got that syndesmosis joint, which is just like the lining in between your bones, the tib and the fib, tibia and fibula, there's a little bit of like a layer of connective tissue. And when that gets ruptured, it's tough to come back from. tough to come back from.
So I want to ask you this. Besides Sawyer and JTT, especially in the first quarter, who do you think, from not just a statistical standpoint, but with your eyeballs, really stood out on the defensive side?
Tyleek Williams, but he stood out to me for weeks.
Okay.
And Ty Hamilton. These guys were blowing up.
I'm just talking last night.
Ty, yeah, both of the defensive tackles, Ty Hamilton and Tyleek Williams, blowing up the play. Go back and look at it, man. They were standing up their man the entire time, and even on double teams with Tyleek Williams, it was amazing.
I agree with you, and I'm going somewhere with this. Is what stands out to me is obviously Sawyer and Tuimoloau out, and the D tackles playing great, and then of course Caleb Downs just being Caleb Downs. He's magnificent. But when you pull up the defensive stats, Sonny Styles, 9 tackles, 6 solos, 1 sack, 3 TFLs, and a PD, and a pass defended. I looked at that and I kept thinking to myself, I don't remember once thinking in my head about Sonny Styles. But you look at that stat line. That stat line is unreal. So you want to talk about the silent hero of the game. It's Sonny Styles. But I don't remember one thing he did. And I'll tell you, that's the mark of an incredibly great defensive player, when you just go and statistically ball out like he did in that game. And you're seeing this where the Oregon game, it was Cody Simon, clearly the best defensive player. Again, it's always going to be Caleb Downs, but I'm trying to diversify here a little bit. Cody Simon was a stat machine against Oregon. Same with Sawyer and everybody against Tennessee. So not only are you seeing these great stats, but every playoff game, you're kind of seeing a different defensive player shine, along with just the superstars being superstars.
Absolutely. Sonny Styles, man, he was a beast. That the only thing I remember about him, unfortunately, was when he got burnt for that touchdown, because he was in coverage and kind of got turned a little bit and delayed and got his feet in concrete and didn't get going as fast as he should have to run with the running back out of the backfield. Yeah. So unfortunately, that's what I remember. I'm gonna have to go back and pay a little bit extra attention to Sonny Styles and the tackles that he had, because you're right about it. That stat line is amazing.
It is. Even 3 TFLs. That's unreal that he had that. So it's just, you're seeing this from different players that are complementing your elite players. And I think you can say the same side on the offensive side of the ball. And I think what they just proved to the nation is, great, you shut down Jeremiah Smith, we still beat you by 14. That tells me everything you need to know about this being a complete team.
Well, I guess we got to look at Emeka Abuka's stats, because
I got it here. He had 5 receptions for 51 yards, no touchdowns. He's just consistent.
Man, it seemed like every time they needed it, it was to him.
Who really shined, and I know we're going to knock him for dropping that slant in the end zone. It didn't affect anything, was Tate. He had 7 receptions for 87 yards.
Right?
Yeah. And that's what you need from a complete team. These one-dimensional teams, or these teams that lean on 1 or 2 players, they typically tend to not win it all. They can win a lot of games, but they don't win it all. What Ohio State proved here is they are a complete team, and whatever you take away, they will find somebody else to fill that void.
Yep, great game by Sonny. Is it possible to keep Smith contained for 2 games in a row? I honestly, if you go back and watch that Eye in the Sky broadcast, he was open on a lot of those throws to some of these other players. So it was just that I don't think that Will Howard wanted to take the time to look at the field. He saw an open player, threw it immediately, because the middle of the field, and they were running curl routes almost every play. In a passing play, there was a curl route in the middle or right to one of the inside, like slot kind of areas every single play. And it was always open because they were just dropping back, immediately dropping back and lining up back. They did not want to get beat with a deep ball at all. So I don't think he was contained this game. I just don't think he got targets, which they have to manufacture some ways to get Smith the ball for sure.
But that's what you're telling. That's what you're telling Howard. You're saying this defensive line is going to get on you in a hurry, especially these D tackles. And there were a couple of defensive tackle plays that were just unreal. They were ripping through, and he had maybe a second to react. So when you have
Hancock did have a good game. You're right about that.
He did. But that's where what I'm telling Will Howard is take what's available. Yes, you want Smith, but if Smith is running a 12-yard out, yes, he may be open eye in the sky. I don't have time for that route to fully develop. I'm going to take that 6-yard curl because I got a D tackle coming in on me. So you have to give credit to Texas's D line of getting pressure on him. It's not as easy as saying, well, Smith was open. It's about timing.
Correct. And it's also they need to get back to those counter plays. That's where you created the timing and where you created the mismatches. And you need to get back to the motions with Smith in particular going in motion. And that's how you created all those plays in the past 2 games. I think we'll see a lot more of that next week because of the differential in talent. Texas is a good team, and they played as a good team, especially their defense, Carnell will be a great player next year, and he's not wide receiver 3, a.k.a. cardio position outside of this game.
I laugh at the cardio comment because in the third quarter, I don't know if people saw this, but you saw Bryson Rogers out there for a few plays. And I kept thinking, what the hell is Bryson Rogers doing out there? And the MFRD's point, I'm like, oh, he's just going to run fades. That's what he said. That's what he's out there for, is just to give the wide receivers a feel. But Carnell Tate is absolutely wide receiver 2 next year. He definitely is, and he's going to have a field day because all these teams are going to be double, triple teaming Jeremiah Smith, and he's going to have a lot of fun next year.
And Ennis is going to be wide receiver 3?
Yeah.
Because he's a pretty damn good wide receiver 4, which is amazing.
He's 6'2", 203. He's a sophomore from Hollywood, Florida. So, yeah, he played Miami ball.
He's a stud. He's going to get a lot of balls next year.
Yeah. To the exec's point, exec 11, yeah, everybody is showing up.
Everyone's showing up for this team. Hey, I think that's about had it for the show. This is a complete team. We will be back. I guess it's going to be I don't even know what day we're going to do a show, but we'll try to get it out. What do you think?
Probably Thursday. We like to keep
wait till Thursday
with the show. Yeah, it's a little tough.
Let's get the typical Thursday night show back. That'll be good.
Yeah, we may be joining you probably Tuesday night, depending on Steve traveling and whatnot. We can't do a Tuesday morning show after the game, but we may look for post-championship game, maybe Tuesday night. So just be on the lookout next Thursday and then Tuesday the 21st.
Tuesday the 21st. The day after is going to be the evening after. So we usually try to do this morning after, but not during the week, man. Can't do it. Let me leave you with this. Our intro played as an outro, man. All the great highlights from this playoff run so far. Go Bucks, OH. God bless everyone. Buckeye backers will be out immediately after this. So have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. It's a lot more enjoyable now. Thanks to Jack Sawyer, man. The legend, the Buckeye legend himself. Takes it all.
Gives up a lot of chunk plays in the air. Buckeyes have 4 looking for a big touchdown end zone. Jeremiah Smith, his second tonight. And they get him again. If you take a downfield shot, loops it back across the body, and climbing and making the catch.
They're going to need to hold up against these receivers.
Making the Judkins again. And there is Smith roaming free. Breaks a tackle. Ohio State strikes quickly from 45 yards.
Will Howard, screen to Henderson. You can make up for it now, Bob. Finds his block. Finds that sprint. Servion Henderson. Shot out of a cannon. Touchdown, Ohio State with 13 seconds left in the first half.
That's how you make up for it.
We're talking about him setting up.
For yours. Pressure comes. Sawyer knocked it out and picks it up. Jack Sawyer headed down the sidelines. Ohio State scoop and
82 yards.